I'm sweating like Peter Clement in an off-licence here.
OK, we're working on it.
What, you've got someone to hose down the sun, have you?
Yes, they've just strapped on their wax wings.
Classical illusions are no substitute for air conditioning.
You know, I genuinely thought you'd be in a better mood today. She's not even here.
Yes, but he is. Our gun-toting handler.
Who, Andy?
I don't know what the fuck his name is, do I?
He's here to keep us safe from people like Disrupt.
More like keep us in line. I hate guns. Give me the willies.
10 seconds, everybody.
So, we've got any actual real news tonight?
Well, the world's on fire. That good enough for you? Going in 5, 4, 3.
Good evening, I'm Jeremy Donaldson. Our main headlines tonight. Siege mentality. The World Council today established a military blockade to enforce the unjust and punitive sanctions now entering their 10th week. In a statement from team headquarters a short time ago, Prime Minister Julia Salisbury issued a commanding response to this unprovoked escalation.
The World Council should make no mistake. This blockade and the illegal sanctions it seeks to enforce are an act of war and will be treated as such. Any incursion, however slight, into our territory will be met with swift and deadly force. You have been warned. The regrettable decision taken by the World Council this morning have left the citizens of this country isolated and fearful. But ProAdvance have prepared for this day. Our stockpiles are large, our wealth is unfathomable, and we will defend our citizens with every last breath from this latest brutal and calculated act of war. We are with you, one team. Indivisible and strong. Thank you. Ever since these illegal sanctions were imposed, we have gratefully relied upon trade and aid from our worldwide friends who, like us, refuse to recognise their legitimacy. Today's escalation, however, is nothing short of an act of war. We call upon our international allies to condemn this blockade absolutely, and we warn aggressors to this country that we are neither meek nor defenceless. Thank you.
Three's a crowd. It seems the celebrity wedding of the decade might have been a touch busier than expected. In a photo leaked today, it appears the union of football star Johnny Hamsleeves and his bride, Tiffany Lamour, may have had a few uninvited guests. Hundreds lined the street to celebrate with the happy couple. Eyewitnesses say a cheer went up as the blushing bride passed by in her carriage, shaped like a bacon sandwich, which is said to be either a protest against the meat industry or a mix-up at the carriage factory. Scores of drunken revellers gatecrashed the star-studded celebrations and seemingly caused something of a stir. The group swarmed the dance floor in what one onlooker called a conga of shame. At least 3 people were taken to hospital with injuries described as bouquet-related. Taking the plunge, far be it for us to be cynical, but it's beginning to seem like the wedding of a certain celebrity power couple is more about attention than it is about love. As this leaked photo shows, the naturals of heartthrob Johnny Hamsleeves and art snob Tiffany Lamour were far from conventional when they finally tied the knot this week. Eyewitnesses claim that the fuse was lit sometime during the vows and that his entrance to the reception, through 3 windows and an exterior wall, was particularly memorable. In a ceremony that left very little to the imagination, the couple are insisting they hold with tradition. Well, as they say, something old, something new. Without a hitch, with the celebrity wedding of the year off the cards, rumours have been flying as to the why. Ever since they broke off their engagement, the separation of celebrity lovebirds Johnny Hamsleeves and Tiffany Lamour has been the subject of fierce speculation in the tabloids. But earlier today, Johnny finally spoke out. In an unexpected statement released by the star's management, Johnny claims he can no longer give Tiffany the time she deserves. "I'm called to worship something higher," he said. "No marriage can fulfill me, not when there's work to be done." I'd say she's dodged a holy bullet there. Johnny has said he's received an outpouring of support after coming out as gay at a press conference earlier today. In a heartfelt statement, he said that despite the fear of reprisals, it was time he finally shared his truth in the hope that gay young people would see that there's no shame in being a footballer. Popping the question, sickly striker Johnny Hamsleeves has finally asked his long-term partner to marry him. With his girlfriend Tiffany Lamore standing by him during his long illness, it seems Johnny may have finally turned a corner. Now, as this candid photo shows, it seems he's well enough to propose to her from his sickbed. According to a source close to the couple, Tiffany was delighted that her poorly partner wanted to become her happy hubby. In a joint statement, the couple said they hope to break the record for celebrity marriages, which currently stands at 12 days. But judging by her expression, the reaction might not have been as positive as he'd hoped. Is this the face of a blushing bride-to-be or someone passing a kidney stone? Let's hope that ring wasn't too pricey. Blowing off steam, ailing athlete Johnny Hamsleeves has announced today that due to general indifference, he'll be retiring from public life. Johnny, who recently split with long-term partner Tiffany Lamore, is still facing an uphill battle with a rare medical condition. But today said he will now be devoting his time to a new hobby in what could be his final months. Sources close to the star reveal he now goes by the Hammond Ball and can be seen breaking the sound barrier as he passes over the A7 just outside of Lambury. Meditation has helped me conquer my inner turmoil, Johnny said, from a particularly uncomfortable position on the floor. Clearly, he's opting to step out of the limelight, enter a life of peace, tranquility, and banging on and on and on about crystals. Under the knife, sickly celebrity Johnny Hamsleeves has reportedly opted for an experimental treatment as a last-ditch effort at curing his fatal illness. Abandoned by former partner Tiffany Lamore when public opinion turned against him, it seems poor Johnny Hamsleeves has had to resort to a more extreme surgical procedure. Leaked medical records revealed this file photo of Johnny's surgeon. Pictured here at the start of his career, Dr. Allen is known for his steady hand, excellent bedside manner, and a particularly overzealous scalpel hand. Seen here mere weeks after losing his medical license, Dr. Hank is known for his open-air operating theatres, homemade tools, and his buy-one, get-one-free appendectomies. Match day, reformed bad boy Johnny Hamsleeves was seen out in public today for the first time since leaving rehab. The rehabilitated former sports star was photographed returning to public life, looking like a new man this morning as he shopped with friends. Ever since his crowd-pleasing appearance on the Whitney Chinmack show, the rumour mill has been wondering if a new relationship might be on the cards. Speculation is centred around his long-term confidant and friend, performance artiste Tiffany Lamore. The pair have been close since Johnny attended her debut protest show against fur for skin. Sources close to Johnny say a romance with ex-teammate Eric Justin would be no surprise and was common knowledge in the locker room. Though judging by the team's recent form, they may be the only ones scoring this season. New leaf. Former footballer Johnny Hamsleeves has made a surprising revelation about what he plans to do now he's leaving rehab. Having successfully finished his treatment but facing public indifference, the sporting hero has decided to step away from public life and dedicate his time to the betterment of others. His decision to abandon professional sports for a life of science has shocked even those closest to him. His former coach, Jimmy Tracksuit, said it's such a shame to see someone so good at kicking a ball give it all up to advance the frontiers of human medical knowledge. Johnny claims his new system can help with anything from addiction to weight loss through his program of interpersonal spiritual practice. He describes the treatment as a very delicate balance between quiet reflection and guttural screaming with a lot of nodding. Fall from grace. Once a celebrated role model in the world of sports, Johnny Hamsleeves has fallen to new lows. After his failed TV comeback attempt, time seemed to be hard for this former athlete who was photographed this week on the streets of the capital in what a former teammate called an unrecognisable state. It seems the faded footballing legend has resorted to panhandling to make ends meet, after losing his sizable fortune and any remaining public respect. One witness even claimed they'd seen Johnny with a sign stating, "We'll do kicks for ham." The once renowned football star has allegedly turned to a life of petty crime in order to fund his drinking problem. When our reporter approached him for a comment, he said, "Give me your wallet, Bannon, you ponce, and I'll take that effing camera as well, mate." Top beer. As his new line of ales goes from strength to strength, Johnny Hamsleeves seems to be really capitalising on his success. The former footballer turned entrepreneur seems to be as comfortable in the boardroom as he ever did on the pitch, as Headbutt Ale smashes projected sales figures yet again. To celebrate the achievement, Johnny treated himself to a 24-karat gold toilet he calls Golden Johnny's Golden John. Worth more than the GDP of some nations, the gaudy monstrosity is just as impractical as it is garish, as within hours of getting it home, Johnny slipped off the solid gold seat and cracked 2 ribs on the diamond bathtub. To expand his beer empire even further, Johnny has unveiled a high-tech new brewery to keep up with demand on his flagship ale. It says the facility will be a place where he can really let his creative juices flow, bottle those creative juices, and then sell them at a tidy profit. Beer in the headlights. Burgeoning brewmeister Johnny Hamsleeves has today launched a new marketing campaign to revitalise the image of his unpopular headbutt ale. Adamant that his craft brew could be a commercial success if only he could get in front of the right audience, Johnny's gone to surprising lengths in his latest PR stunt. Johnny admits that rebranding Headbutt Ale as the beer of choice for outlaw bikers Satan's elbows without their permission was a risky move, but says the bearded howls, flying furniture and general air of menace was a surprise. In a move he's calling groundbreaking and his accountants are calling irresponsible, Johnny has launched 1,000 bottles of beer into the stratosphere, where they've now settled into geostationary orbit. He's hailing it as a landmark achievement, while scientists are condemning his cosmic fly tipping. Ailing business? Wannabe beer magnate Johnny Hamsleeves seems to have fallen on hard times as his brewery venture folds. It seems Johnny wasn't cut out for the brewing business, as poor sales forced him to close his doors. And if this exclusive image is anything to go by, he hasn't been handling it well. Left with 8,000 cases of surplus stock, a heartbroken Hamsleeves says he's been left with no choice but to work his way through the leftovers himself. Johnny said, "I reckon at my current pace I can get through them in just over 2.5 years. But then again, I'm smashed, so what do I know?" Pictured here on day 4 of his nationwide tour, where he's vowing to deck the doubters, the failed entrepreneur is making his way from pub to pub, thumping anyone who dares call his brew too hoppy. In it to win it. Exciting news from Advance today, with the announcement of a new monthly prize draw for all team membership card holders. Every month, lucky winners from across the country will be picked at random to receive what Team HQ are describing as unique prizes worth more than money used to be. Take-up on the scheme has been much higher than expected, and if this lucky winner's delighted face is anything to go by, it looks like pretty soon everyone's going to have one. Take-up on the scheme has been much higher than expected, and if this lucky winner's delighted face is anything to go by, it looks like pretty soon everyone's going to have one. Hard pill to swallow. Throngs of men take the streets in response to the release of new pharmaceutical responsibility. Rymmington-Svist's revolutionary male contraceptive pill first hit our shelves earlier this month, and as a result, scores of men have been queuing around the block and around the clock ever since. Pharmacies up and down the territory report that they are unable to meet the demand for the wildly popular drug, with some customers camping outside for upwards of 72 hours. Satisfied CEO Sophia Rymmington says they've scaled up production and will soon have manufactured enough to satisfy even the randiest of consumers. Emergency departments across the developed world have seen waiting times skyrocket over the last several weeks, as men have been on the pill experience side effects in greater numbers than expected. With some pointing the finger squarely at the manufacturing giant, a spokesman was swift to point out that they just don't care. Burning rubber. Sales of condoms have plummeted this month as sales of responsibility soar. Since becoming widely available earlier this year, the male contraceptive pill has become commonplace in the lives of many heterosexual couples, and, as a result, many are turning their backs on more traditional prophylactics. But research by the global health watchdog has revealed that it's men who are increasingly saying no to the love glove. The findings have prompted concerns about rises in sexually transmitted infections and a surge of insufferable conversations during one-night stands. But a study published today by one leading medical journal suggests that it's women who are moving away from the humble Johnny. The paper found that partners who were willing to share the contraceptive responsibility were far more likely to be screened for infection and to report happier relationships. Bitter pill. Is this the beginning of the end for responsibility? The male contraceptive pill, lauded by scientists as a remarkable achievement, has been widely rejected by the public. Sales of the revolutionary drug have been non-existent, with many claiming the world simply wasn't ready for such a shift in radical reproductive politics. Sophia Rymmington, the hapless CEO who called the treatment a new era for sexual health, has removed the product from sale. Pictured here arriving at a board meeting this morning, she is said to have utterly lost hope in humanity, remarking, "What's the point when you're all so damn stupid?" before bursting into tears. Relentless CEO Sophia Rymmington has refused to bow to public pressure and give up on the treatment. Seen here outside Rymmington-Svist's HQ, the dogged businesswoman called the failure a minor hiccup before reducing 2 reporters to tears. Kiss me, Flardy. The nation's favourite all-rounder, the humble Flard, has risen to new heights today after a surprise announcement. The news that Flard fans all over the territory have been waiting for is finally here. In a statement met with universal delight, Rymmington-Svist unveiled the next chapter for that faithful family favourite, the Flard. Lawrence Blunderclatch and Helena Canterbury Boatshoe, rumoured to be mortal enemies, are to reunite to celebrate their one mutual love in Die Flard the movie. Self-confessed Flardy, Sophia Rymmington, said, "It's only right that the real hero of our age takes centre stage in this no-holds-Flard action thriller." Advance have come to a deal with the manufacturing giant, reportedly for a whopping 4 million units, and have been named the territory's official Flard supplier. Sophia Rymmington, seen here sealing the deal, marked the occasion by releasing 14 Flards into the sky as a symbol of peace and prosperity. Flard-hearted, a shocking inspection of Rymmington-Svist's new Flard factory has revealed health concerns that could leave the groundbreaking facility's future in doubt. After the public's lukewarm response to the industrial plant, the troubling report that found a possible long-term risk to shop floor workers could be the final nail in the coffin. CEO Sophia Rymmington, however, was optimistic that her employees would remain loyal. And judging by these pictures, she may be right, as workers seem to be ignoring the warnings and returning to work. It looks like it's business as usual in Grizzleford. Perhaps the reports are unfounded, or perhaps, like Shark Ballet, Flards are just simply worth the risk. But perhaps she spoke too soon. As these photos clearly show, workers are taking the warnings very seriously, and some have even abandoned their posts to seek medical advice. It seems like my mother was wrong. A Flard a day won't keep the doctor away. A bridge to Flard. After disappointing sales leave them with a massive Flard surplus, Rymmington-Svist have had to find a use for their overflowing stocks. After the decision to ramp up production was met with public outcry, Sophia Rymmington has let slip the future for the overflowing flock of failed Flards. Hoping to recapture the public's imagination, Rymmington-Svist have announced a luxury island getaway called Flard Festival, described as an immersive, luxury Flard experience on an island. This cryptic announcement has certainly raised eyebrows, with consumers asking questions like, "But what even is it?" and "Did you say an island?" It seems there are now thousands upon thousands of shipping containers full of the formerly fashionable fabrications lying unused and unloved in warehouses around the country. An official spokesperson refuted this claim, saying many of the crates also contain corporate whistleblowers, endangered species, and long-lost priceless religious artefacts. Supply and demand. Despite initial controversy, Rymmington-Svist have today announced a huge expansion of their junior employment opportunity scheme. While originally greeted with scepticism, the popularity of Camp Busyfingers and its cheap and accessible workforce has grown beyond dispute, with today's announcement the next logical step in the programme's growth. Speaking from one of the camp's lovingly named labour halls, Sophia Rymmington announced that the project would be expanding its output from clothing and textiles into printed transistor arrays and high-voltage diode boards. 7-year-old foreman Tilly Andrews said that union talks with management had broken down around snack time, but she was confident that morale would be much higher after their nap. Rymmington-Svist say their decision to increase the age range of their camp members was the obvious solution to the concerns about the production line's safety and efficiency. A spokesman said, "Starting younger means more extensive training, and keeping them longer means they will get more responsible middle management once they reach the age of about 9 or 10. Soldering on. After an all-round lack of interest in Camp Busyfingers, Rymmington-Svist have decided to pivot their latest project into an entirely new venture. Critics have been attacking both Sophia Rymmington and the Junior Employment Opportunity Scheme since its unveiling, and it seems without public support, the corporation has folded to pressure to alter its direction. It seems that with the production lines gone, parents are slightly less racked with guilt as they deposit their children at Camp Busyfingers, while they go to work, go on holiday, or stay at home with 3 bottles of wine. The first Rymmington-Svist daycare centre seems to be a natural and much less morally bankrupt next step for the corporation. With a number of inspections comparing the conditions at Camp Busyfingers to various prisons and gulags, it required surprisingly few changes to adapt the current infrastructure into the latest in juvenile detention facilities. One parent said, "We'd started to blame ourselves for how our 3-year-old had turned out, But as they say, out of sight, out of mind. Soldiering on, despite universal criticism and threats of legal action, the CEO of Rymmington-Svist insists she will be continuing the controversial Junior Employment Opportunities Scheme. Sophia Rymmington has courted controversy throughout her short career, but the continuation of the programme, described by many as a child labour force, is a low point even for her. Seen here leaving a board meeting, the remorseless young businesswoman seemed utterly unperturbed by the outrage, saying, "I'm ahead of my time, like that steam engine guy, or God." Unsurprisingly, Sophia emerged from an emergency resolution meeting looking extremely troubled, telling reporters, "It all came as a real shock. I thought people hated children as much as I do." Unearthed, the scandal of the controversial methods employed in the construction of Rymmington-Svist's moves. The future of the project is in question as an anonymous whistleblower has come forward detailing the wanton violations employed to further construction, which allegedly can be traced all the way back to shameless CEO Sophia Rymmington. Documents seen by this programme detail the authorization of dynamite, plastic explosives, and a substance called Planet Go Boom Boom, which is derived from the horns of endangered rhinos. Sophia denies the allegations and claims her bi-weekly safaris are to further her charity work. The claim alleges a slew of bribes have been paid to public officials, 2 mayors, a police chief, and several pizza delivery drivers, though that last one may be written off as excellent tipping. Sophia denies all wrongdoing and is scheduled to speak before a judge next month. Hellhole, as construction on the hotly disputed Moves project is halted by the discovery of an ancient burial ground. Speculation today as to the nature of the corporation's next move. The revelation that the transport system was being built through a site of such spiritual and cultural significance rocked Rymmington-Svist last night. Pictured here arriving for a board meeting this morning, contentious CEO Sophia Rymmington is expected to announce the future of the project later today. Looking decidedly determined and just a touch obstinate, the Maverick CEO is expected to say that the project is about building the future, not respecting the past. Reports that Sophia referred to warnings of an ancient curse as priceless are unconfirmed. Sophia seems to be deeply troubled by the discovery, which is leading commentators to predict the cessation of tunnelling with immediate effect. A victory for campaigners, but what they'll do with that great big hole is anyone's guess. Glory hole? Due to the overwhelming public disapproval of their controversial moves, Rymmington-Svist announced that excavations are to be discontinued and the unfinished tunnel repurposed. Speaking from her divorce lawyer's parking lot, pitiful CEO Sophia Rymmington admitted the attempt to dig through the earth was short-sighted and ambitious, and unveiled the future of the abandoned hole. Sophia claims the low-cost subterranean housing project will be a triumph for low-income families and promises affordable, attractive accommodation only a few miles below sea level. Sophia hailed the planned underground amusement park as a visionary design. According to a spokesman, it's just like a regular theme park, but damper and more susceptible to cave-ins. Leaders shipping out. The trapped scientists undertaking a bold escape from Dante's taint have revealed which of their 2 erstwhile leaders will spearhead their journey to freedom. While throughout their careers it's been clear that Doctors Wong and Svorsborgenhorgensvord have worked best together, it seems one of them is now going to be taking a back seat. Dr. Wong has always been the riskier of the pair, willing to push further and faster in the name of progress. We all remember his now infamous exploding chimp trial. Let's hope that getting the team home sooner doesn't mean they cut too many corners. Ingrid has always been the tempered coolant to David's flagellized metal, so it's no surprise that with the unexpected challenges the team have faced, they chose her methodical and effective approach to getting the team home safely. Critics, however, have speculated that her strategy may be delayed, as her name takes much longer to say. Some men left behind. Escape craft construction has been hampered by problems as the beleaguered scientists stuck in Dante's taint have had to make the hard call of who won't be coming back due to their new vessel's limited capacity. Despite their promising start, it's fair to say that enthusiasm for the venture has waned. Frayed tensions are rumoured to have led to plans being rushed and big problems that could have been avoided by just simply counting how many of them there are. Deciding it would be wise to put their best foot forwards, the team have imposed a minimum IQ requirement for those that would like to make the journey home. The limit is said to be somewhere between the astrophysicists and the geologists. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, it was decided that those who would be left behind should be the best able to adapt and survive. Let's hope they don't regret leaving the marine biologists in charge of the complex machinery. Back to basics. It seems the team trapped in Dante's taint could be facing a problem too great even for them, as escape plans are scrapped. An image transmitted from deep within the cave system shows the doctors moments after they receive the news that they have lost public support for their reckless escape attempt. Could this serious setback prove fatal for their already troubled homeward venture? With all hope lost, even in defeat, these two appear to have stuck together. But can any professional respect survive the prospect of an eternity underground? Most collies can't even handle a shared fridge, Megan. Despite the devastating blow, somehow Doctors Wong and Svorsborgenhorgensvord seem resolute and united. But without hope of returning home, what will they turn their iron will to instead? If you have any suggestions, perhaps dig a big hole and scream them into the earth. Oh, Captain, my Captain! Progress today for the stranded scientists of Dante's taint, as the captain leading their rescue mission is announced. The trapped team have survived in the cave system for many months now, but hope is on the horizon as the expedition leader is announced by the Board of Underground Theoretics. A respected professional with decades of experience, training and knowledge, Captain Audrey Aerospace is said to be the only real choice to successfully save the troubled scientific excursion, but an unfortunate one to be sat next to at a dinner party or social occasion. Given rumours of incompetence throughout his career, Captain Archibald Viator III has proven a controversial choice. His troubling service record includes accusations of being drunk, disorderly and disrobed on duty. Classy. The cost of a captain. The trapped scientists awaiting rescue in Dante's taint have today been told who will be leading the expedition to bring them home. The announcement of the newly appointed captain comes amid reports that a lack of public interest has hindered fundraising efforts. However, Doctors Wong and Svorsborgenhorgensvord are said to be remaining hopeful despite financial concerns. Waiving her normal fee, the team are calling the appointment of Captain Audrey Aerospace a real boon. But how will one of the most experienced and well-respected leaders in her field handle a journey with a budget lower than an accountant's honeymoon? The decision to hire infamously cheap, but notoriously unreliable, Captain Archibald Viator III was widely criticised this morning after he immediately spent 50% of the already tight budget on tequila, recording it on the equipment list as nature's seatbelt. Fungi or fundi? As their supplies dwindle, the scientists of Dante's taint have had to supplement their food stores with more unconventional cuisine. After funding was pulled due to public outrage, all attempts to rescue the researchers have now been abandoned. But David and Ingrid's joint team are not going down without a fight and have begun to experiment with the available food sources. Without sufficient time to test the long-term effects of eating the newly discovered flora, the scientists resorted to deciding which to eat based on their favourite colour. FX7B3 has become the staple of their subterranean diet and reportedly, despite its appetising aroma, tastes like your dad's old feet. Trufflewongus aquatica, known locally as Svorsborgenhorgensvord, has become a key part of the scientists' diet, despite the lack of knowledge as to its long-term effects. Let's hope they don't sprout any unwanted Svorsborgenhorgen limbs. Well endowed, supplies sent down to the struggling scientists of Dante's taint arrived today to much jubilation and a few tears. With public opinion still behind the stranded squad, the support team on the surface declared that no expense was spared in furnishing the academics with these vital supplies. There's nothing a flood can't fix, so in the challenging environment of Dante's taint, it seemed only natural to send them a box full of solutions. The doctors were said to be pleased, but did mention something about being a bit peckish. The all-purpose supply box will furnish the academics with everything they could need, from rations to medical supplies to seeds. Truly, there's never been a better time to be stranded in a barren subterranean environment. Spin doctors, the beleaguered brainiacs of Dante's taint, have today received a little something to put a smile on their starving faces. With tight funding preventing the supply of anything actually useful, it's hoped this playful package will lift spirits enough to at least create some sense of peace between the warring factions. A source close to the support effort revealed she had a few bits left over from her son's birthday party, and they'd been shipped down to the isolated team. Early reports have described a sad game of musical statistics and a half-hearted attempt to pin the tail on the dermatologist. Opening the crate that contained the emergency piñata, the scientists' reactions ranged from bemused befuddlement to baffled bewilderment. Imagine their delight when they smash it to pieces and find it's full of medical supplies. Let's hope they don't use those sticks on each other. Restraint in the taint. Pictures have emerged from Dante's Taint, purporting to show the fighting physicists' reaction to the axing of plans to send supplies. The group, who lost public support after devolving into all-out war, were told they would not receive any more help from above ground. But this exclusive picture shows the scientists' current state of mind. Despite the initial rivalry, the challenging environment, and the stresses of full-blown warfare, there seems to be a miraculous spirit of cooperation blooming in the air. We haven't seen scientific collaboration on this scale since the invention of the sandwich toaster. Mired in problems since the start, this final complete and total abandonment seems to be the last straw for the savage scholars. Something tells me they're not discussing particle physics. Locked up tight, with relations between Doctors Wong and Svorsborgenhorgensvord deteriorating at an ever-increasing pace, the plans for their high-tech war were revealed today. The bitter rivalry between the two intellectuals has become an impassioned race to determine whose design would proceed to construction. The public's positive reaction to their plan has meant no expense will be spared in building the gratuitous barricade. Dr. David Wong has always had a tendency to over-engineer his ideas, and it seems this new design will continue the trend. With over 4,000 moving parts and consuming as much power as 14 petting zoos, his static separation device promises a high-tech and over-convoluted way to keep the groups apart. Always the long-term thinker, Ingrid says her unorthodox solution combines her technical expertise and her love for unnecessarily long words. While the design of the Svorsborgenhorgensvord seems effective, the origins of its name remain a mystery. Bad foundations. The trapped inhabitants of Dante's Taint are under new management today as the stranded scientists seek to secure themselves a subterranean future. With initial plans for the war having to be abandoned after supplies received from the service were found to be insufficient, a new subset of scientists has overthrown Doctors Wong and Svorsborgenhorgensvord and intend to take the project in a new direction. Believing in peace, love and a herbal compound distilled from cave algae, the new leadership is promising a relaxed approach to pretty much everything. When asked to comment on the dire future ahead, a spokesman nodded distractedly for 2 full minutes before laughing at a boulder. The new leadership, who sees power through a mixture of shouting and being really mean, have a propensity for discipline, hard work and excessive leather. Talking things through, a momentous subterranean summit today as the imprisoned intellectuals of Dante's Taint met in what was hailed as a breakthrough for tensions in the tunnels. With no help from the surface forthcoming to maintain the separate factions, the two leaders were forced to meet in order to resolve the dispute once and for all. Photos transmitted to the surface captured the surprising moment that the old rivals met face to face once more. Unfortunately, it seems the pair weren't able to forgive or forget, as reportedly Ingrid is still unhappy with David's standards of statistical significance, while David is angry that Ingrid mispronounced his name. Thankfully, Doctors David Wong and Ingrid Svorsborgenhorgensvord were able to put their differences aside and reunite, saying, if we're going to spend an eternity in a cave, we might as well pretend to be happy about it. Burning down the house? The capital was put on high alert last night after Disrupt terrorists set an emblematic fire in the heart of Parliament Park. Violent conflict broke out at the demonstration after a mob of so-called protesters from the radical group launched an unprovoked attack on community cohesion officers in attendance. While the burning fist of resistance certainly seems a powerful image in these difficult times, fire officials were quick to point out that had they not arrived in time, and I quote, the whole bloody city might be yesterday's burnt crumpets. With the methods of this increasingly violent rabble becoming ever more extreme, many are asking if the military should intervene. Colonel Phineas Mad Badger Fortingley Davis of the 1st Mounted Bastards Brigade said his men were, and I quote, oiled up and ready for action. Life during wartime. As if we didn't have enough aggressors on our borders, internal problems are growing for the government as radical activist group Disrupt caused chaos in Parliament Park last night. Scuffles broke out after the protest, resulting in multiple arrests and the injury of 3 community cohesion officers. Advance have yet to comment. The reckless fire will certainly be remembered by all those who have seen these striking images. As their actions escalate, people across the country are asking themselves, who are Disrupt and what exactly do they want? Other than a new box of matches, of course. As grassroots support for the movement grows rapidly, especially in those areas Advance have not yet been able to fully regenerate, people across the country are starting to fear a return to the bad old days of inequality, division, and multiple television shows about buying houses. Road to nowhere? A large turnout was reported last night for an illegal and unsanctioned demonstration by radical pressure group Disrupt. Although overzealous policing by some community cohesion officers led to isolated scuffles after the event, the activists managed to make an impressive visual display in the heart of Parliament Park. As well as burning itself into the minds of all those who see the image, the Disrupt symbol is also scorched into the turf in what can only be described as an impressive exercise in branding. Although they claim to be a non-violent organisation, many witnesses to the unauthorised protest reported an atmosphere of menace and barely concealed anger. Sounds like an average Christmas in the Donaldson household.